people, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today I am bringing you my guest, Zoe. So I was introduced to Zoe through a friend, and I am so excited for her to share her story with you. In this episode, we'll be talking about health and fitness, we'll be talking about nutrients, pharmaceutical pills, and also about mindset. Basically, we talked about life. But of course, we talked about her story and what she offers as well. Now, if you're someone who has never ever done weightlifting, you are going to enjoy this episode. And if you're a woman who is unsure how exercising can be beneficial for you, come on, how can you not know? If you need some assurance, continue watching. Zoe is going to share some things with you. Now, you will definitely enjoy this episode if you're a woman, let's say you're 50s and over, because she's going to share some tips with you on how you can really look after your health. And she will also share an inspiring story from one of her clients. Now, because Zoe and I had such an amazing chat, I asked her so many questions and she was so generous with her knowledge. So this health and fitness and this mindset topic will be in two parts. So enjoy!
What kind of, let's say, food or exercise would you suggest women in their 50s or 60s to do more of?
I guess if we're going to start off with foods, less tea would be good. Iron levels, iron and calcium are very important when we get into the later stages of life, especially as women, because osteoporosis does come into play. And there's a lot of women, as they get older, they start to go what's onto like the tea and toast diet, where they're not eating enough proteins, they're not getting enough calcium into their body because they're not eating big enough meals, and a lot of that does come from just our society going, yeah, you need to eat salad, and that's how you get healthy, is you just eat salad all the time. But no, you need more than just salad. So if you're eating a lot of, or if you're drinking a lot of tea, that's going to be depleting your iron levels, it's going to be depleting your calcium levels, and that's going to be making your bones a lot more brittle, and making you feel a lot more sluggish and weaker because of those two nutrients, just those two nutrients lacking, let alone others if you're not eating enough. But exercise, I have clients, and I've had clients as well, that to bring the osteoporosis back into it, weight training, I cannot hammer that home enough. So one of my old clients, so she came to me when she was, I think, about 50, 57, 58, and she was told by her doctor, which this is absolutely so great to hear, that she was told by her doctor to go start training in a gym. She'd been a yoga instructor her entire life, and so she was very flexible, she was very fit, but she was developing the early onset of osteoporosis in her spine. So the main thing that we focused on was, like I was saying before, deadlifts, and it is one of my favorite exercises, as you can probably guess. But she's tiny little lady. She's an absolute pocket rocket, full of energy, full of vibrancy. We just needed to make sure that we were strengthening her properly and ensuring that her back was going to be strong, so that the osteoporosis wasn't going to be too severe on her quality of life down the track. And she had a goal when we were training for ages. I think we ended up training together for about 2 years. And the goal the whole time was just to make sure that her body is strong and that her muscles can feed that calcium feedback loop into the bones as well, because your muscles and your bones feed each other with calcium. So if you don't have any muscle there, it's going to be a lot harder for your bones to be able to maintain that calcium level. So that was our main thing, was making sure that she was building up her muscle as she was getting later into life. And then when it was coming up to her 60th birthday, she said, you know what, I want to be able to deadlift 60 kilos by my 60th birthday. And she gave me about she gave me about 6 months for us to work towards that goal. And Yeah, so that was absolutely great. So she was 47 kilos at that time. So like I said, she was a tiny little pocket rocket, and we were able to smash that goal. We achieved that, I think, within 3 months. So it was still 3 months before her 60th birthday. And she was deadlifting 65 kilos, 70 kilos in the end that we were able to get her up to. And she just felt absolutely so empowered within herself. That it was just great to see someone that had a life of yoga and almost the complete opposite of weightlifting to go, you know what, this is fantastic. I'm going to embrace this as my new lifestyle. And yeah, it's always inspiring for me when I see my clients taking on that new mindset and that new way of thinking towards their health.
Yeah, such an inspiring story, especially for those who are listening who might be, in a later age, I guess. And for you to illustrate what a balanced lifestyle really, because given people might think that as a yoga instructor, they would have the amazing health as well, but really everyone is dealing with something. And like you said, like she's flexible but she doesn't have a lot of muscles, so like really we just need to have a balanced diet, balanced exercise, balanced literally everything. So yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
What about for, like you said, like you said, right now lockdown, a lot of people might still be stressed. What would you encourage them to maybe eat less or more of?
I guess eating less of, probably refined sugars will be a big one. I know that a lot of people through this time, it's a lot easier, and my cat's going to kind of try and jump up into this. It's a lot easier when you're starting to get depressed to go towards the comfort foods. So like going for like the Tim Tams, the pizzas, things like that. And that is going to actually be making you feel worse long term than it is going to be helping you to feel better. Proteins for me, whether that comes from a plant or a meat source for my body, because I'm very hyper aware of how my body reacts to foods these days, obviously because of my upbringing. I know for me that if I'm not eating enough meat, that my brain does not feel like it's functioning properly. So I know that I need to have a good intake of amino acids to help my brain function to be at its optimal level. And with that would be to be able to keep at bay things like depression, anxiety for people that are going through these such long lockdowns. Other things that a lot of people will probably have been slightly increasing as part of their lifestyle would be alcohol consumption, where normally they would have had that like on the Friday or the weekend, but because they've been in lockdowns, it's kind of creeped into maybe a glass every night or something like that. And that will in itself be like making you more dehydrated, so that's going to be affecting your brain function again, but also your gut microbiome. That is going to be interplaying with that. And your neurotransmitters, so your serotonin and dopamine, are made in your gut. So if you're not eating adequate intake of fresh vegetables, fibrous foods, and good quality meats, when I say good quality, I go for the extreme, the best quality that you can afford, go for it, because bad quality meat is definitely not where you want to be at. But yeah, if you're not helping your gut microbiome to be functioning properly, your mindset is definitely not going to be functioning properly as well.
Yeah. You know what I didn't get? I don't get why those BWS or like those bottle plates are the essential things that needed to be open. I was just like, are you serious? Like people are just gonna go. Yeah, I was like, didn't get it at all.
And I guess in Australian society, like alcohol is such an emotional crutch for a lot of people. And yeah, it's kind of saddening that for people to feel better about their lives, they need to numb themselves. And I want to feel more empowered about their lives and to be able to do that hard work that is looking within and connecting with themselves so that they can feel more inspired and empowered just in their normal everyday.
Totally. I believe it's changing though. I have faith. Like now it's like a good time for people to wake up as well. You know how before for 50 and 60-year old, ladies, you suggest them to have less tea. What about coffee?
Coffee, same thing. Yeah, I find that as generally as people, women mainly, get older, it's less about the coffee consumption because the caffeine can be too stimulating for them, and they can feel jittery. So it's more tea. It becomes a little bit more normal because it's not quite as stimulating on the nervous system, where they'll get some energy increase, but they won't get jittery. But yeah, exactly the same thing, tea and coffee. Yeah, like I do drink a lot of coffee myself, not a lot. I have a daily cup of coffee, which I know that I do need to balance out with making sure that I have enough fluids, making sure that my liver is functioning properly as well. And it does also, like with alcohol, it does alter your gut microbiome. So making sure that I am doing the other things as well to keep my body functioning properly. Yeah, but coffee tastes great, and we live in the
Yeah, you're right. I just want to quickly ask that because for those who are listening and watching who might like to drink tea and then they're like, oh, well, then maybe I will drink coffee. So I just want to ask that. And I love the way that you mentioned about eating less sugar because for those who are listening, I just want to say everything that's in your pantry speaks about your health. So if you find it a bit hard at the moment, maybe you can start from your pantry. And then, if it's not there, then you wouldn't want to go and get it, especially in lockdown. So
yeah.
stuff from your own
Convenience does win. Yeah, convenience does win. So if your cupboards are filled with Tim Tams and chocolates, you're going to go for those before you're going to cook a well-balanced meal. So it is always a lot easier, especially if you're not eating frequently enough through the day and your blood sugar levels drop, you're going to go for the quick, easy carbohydrates to boost your energy levels back up. So definitely true. Yeah, trying not to have them in the house is always the best option. The easiest option if you're trying to reduce something in your diet.
Yeah, definitely. Well, because you do weightlifting, what would be some foods that you would suggest for those women out there who are into weightlifting?
Like I mentioned before, proteins. I do mention proteins a lot because I do find that a lot of my female clients, they underestimate, or they overestimate how much protein they're already eating, and they underestimate how much they actually need. And like with weightlifting, eating more meat is not going to make you bulky, because proteins actually go, or even if you are eating plant sources of meat as well, plant sources of proteins. If you're eating good amounts, before you even get to developing any muscle, and for people that even just want to look more toned, you're going to need to be upping your protein levels as well. But for your health, you need proteins throughout your body. You need it for your endocrine system. You need it for your detox system. You need it for your immune system. Your brain is also made of protein. So like I was mentioning before, where I know I need enough amino acids to get my brain functioning properly. So protein is definitely one of them. Of course, with that, you need balance. So you need to make sure that you're eating a good amount of fibrous vegetables to be able to digest proteins properly. But with that too, if you're eating quite a clean diet, so for those who have said goodbye to the junk food and they eat a balanced diet that is full of proteins and carbohydrates and good healthy fats, one thing that a lot of people are kind of undervaluing in that as well, and it's also another society thing that we're told to reduce it in our diet, salt. Salt is really actually kind of essential for our neurotransmitter conduction. So, and I bring this one up because I actually noticed this in myself yesterday, that because I don't eat junk food, I don't have a lot of sodium in my diet. So I always know that I need to load up my food with sodium to be able to have those electrolytes in my system. And on Sunday morning, I'd had a soup the night before. On Saturday night, I had some soup, and I'd loaded a whole heap of sodium into that, or a lot of salt into that. And when I was training on Sunday morning, I was feeling so good, so incredibly just smooth in my squats. My legs weren't feeling stiff. I wasn't having that buildup of lactic acid. And I realized it's like, even though I have been putting salt on my food, clearly I've been eating a little bit more. because salt also helps to transfer your fluid levels. So your water will also be filling up your muscles if you do have enough salt in your diet too. So then you're able to clean out like the lactic acid and the waste buildup in your muscles, and everything just feels so much easier.
Nice, good suggestion. I also feel like with the salt thing though, it's like a circle, because if you eat more salt, you will feel more thirsty, and then which means you will drink more water.
Yeah,
Like good
yeah,
for
very true.
everything.
Yeah, and like I said before, like that's for people that have already said goodbye to takeaway foods, to packaged foods, to things like that, because takeaway processed foods, they are quite high in sodium already, or in salt already. But for people that are already eating a clean diet, there's just one little way that you can help your body to just feel a lot more seamless.
Amazing. Thank you for the tips. And for those who are listening and watching, if you would like more suggestions, well, feel free to contact Zoe, because her details will be in the description below. And I highly recommend you to. Would there be any, let's say, exercise that people can do, especially for women?
Bulgarian split squats, I love those things. That one just pops into mind because during the lockdowns, so many of my clients are getting like hip issues, and a lot of that comes from sitting down too much. And of course, that happens a lot as it is for people that just work in a normal office, where their hips are quite tight, that pulls onto their lower back, and then they start having back problems. So Bulgarian split squat. So that's an exercise where you have your foot behind you on a raised platform. So like you could put it on your couch at home, or on a bench if you're at the gym. And you're kind of in a lunge position. So you have your other foot in front of you, and as you're standing up, and as you drop down, your back foot, the knee from that foot drops directly downwards. So you're getting a really awesome stretch through your hip flexors to be able to open up your hips. You're also using really great activation through your quads, your hamstrings, and your glutes to be able to drive up again as well. So it has that benefit of opening up through the hips and really activating your glutes and your hamstrings and your quads through that movement. So that's been kind of my favorite little extra spicer to put in my clients' programs. No one likes me for it. They do definitely hurt, but they are so beneficial. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is something easy, because everyone has a couch or a chair or whatever. Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you
Can
for the
do them at
exercise.
the park. Yeah.
Now, because you are so passionate to helping more women to feel powerful, how do you think we can be there for each other?
Yeah, well, I think that's literally it. You kind of answered it inside the question there. Being there for each other. Yeah, connection is so important, and acknowledging when people need support is so empowering as well. Like as a female trainer, I know that it can, when there's women training in the gym, sometimes they do feel really almost scared, or they feel really insecure with their own training. Like they'll do what I used to do, where they'll go hide in the corner or something like that, and they have this look on their face that they just desperately need someone to just be there with them and support them and help them to feel excited about what they're doing, and help them to know that they are on the right track. So women inspiring women is the best way to kind of get the end goal that we're all after, because if we can help each other to feel empowered within ourselves, and just to say, hey, oh my goodness, you're looking so great today, I saw you squatting the other day and your squats looking so good, it just makes someone's day. Like even if you're just saying, hey, your hair looks awesome today, that little compliments go a very, very long way. And yeah, training with other women, so much fun as well, especially if it is something like weightlifting, where you can help each other to improve technique too. So you're working to inspire each other and improve each other's performance, and it's just a great space to be in.
Yeah, I agree. And I guess the reason why I say to women is because I don't know, I feel like women, because they use their emotional side a lot, and it's just harder, unfortunately, for a lot of women to get out of their, I guess, negative spiral. So thank you. I really do think that we really need to be there to lift each other up. I also feel like you have amazing stories, and I just really want to continue to ask more questions. But before, I don't want to take up too much of your time. So, do you feel like there is anything that I didn't ask or you would like to share in particular?
I might just cover this one off quickly. So with naturopathy, so there's a reason why I feel that natural health is so incredibly important. And like I said before, how I grew up on a lot of medication myself, um, with going down that path of constantly being sick and constantly just finding whatever quick pill, which is generally some form of antibiotic that will help you to feel better. That is not health and that is not living. That is just going from a state of sickness to sickness. And one of my first jobs was actually as a pharmacy assistant, where I helped people to find that quick pill that would get them away from their cold or their flu or whatever rash they had going on. And you're not actually treating the cause when you're doing that. You're just treating the symptoms. So if you're when I was in that space with helping people to look at their health from that standpoint of like, I've got this problem, I want to get rid of this problem. Cool, okay, let's get rid of this problem. But then it pops up a month or a couple of months later. That's just an endless cycle. So that was my experience as a pharmacy assistant. And there's a few other stories in that one as well, but I'll keep moving forward. A second job that I had as a kind of side job, I was doing some reception and administration work for a weight loss surgeon, and watching people, of course, coming in really wanting to change their lives and to feel to feel a lot more healthier and happier within their own bodies. And it was very similar to the experience with the pharmacy, where they just wanted just the results. They didn't want to have to go through the painstaking effort that it does take. It does take effort to work on yourself and to work on your body. It does take work to work on your mindset and to change your life. But yes, weight loss surgeon. So a lot of people that I would see coming into there, they were really just grateful. They were really excited about having the surgery done. But then within weeks or months of them coming out of the surgery, nothing had changed in terms of their lifestyle. And it's very similar to the fast weight loss challenges that we mentioned before, where if you're not working on within, if you're not working on connecting with yourself and inspiring yourself and empowering yourself to make those changes long term, it's just going to be that endless cycle. And in this case, it's thousands of dollars to have that cycle repeated, where they would lose some weight, and they would literally be going through severe surgery, but they still felt exactly the same coming out of it. Another element to my career was as a medical receptionist. So once again, just doubling down on that that cycle of people coming in, getting their cold and flu prescriptions and leaving, and then you'd see the same people over and over again. And it was almost like those turnstiles where they just come in one door, go out the other, and just hammering home that if you want to feel nourished and fulfilled, if you want to wake up feeling empowered every morning, you do need to do the hard work. You do need to be able to connect within yourself, and to have the courage to do that. It takes a lot of courage to connect with yourself, to be able to go, okay, I know that there's things that I need to be working on to get to where I want to be. And if you're constantly just pushing those aside, you're never going to be able to get there fully. You need to really connect with who you are and connect with how your body is feeling as well, to be able to achieve the life, the physique, the health that you're wanting to have.
That was so beautiful. Thank you so much, because I really feel like people don't know what they don't know. So if someone really, they have never ever felt to live a life that, you just wake up like you wake up like being like, yeah, like today's it, who cares if it's raining today, I got this. Like, if they don't have that type of mindset or energy, they wouldn't never know how that would feel. And like you said, it does take a lot of courage, and you do need to be brave, but you are not alone. Like, I just want to keep telling people that there are people out there that are willing to help you. And a lot of people are going through it. And just because Zoe has worked on herself, it doesn't mean that she is a superwoman. She still has those down days, but that is because she has a supportive group. She can help herself to get through those things. Actually, speaking of that, like, how do you get yourself out of your negative spiral?
Connecting with it is a big one. Having the courage to connect with it so that I can pull myself out of it. And that's where courage comes into it. And courage, for anyone that doesn't realize what courage is, it's like, oh yeah, courage, cool, that's a word. Courage doesn't come from the complete absence of fear. It comes from fear itself. So you do need to feel fear in order to have courage to make a change in anything, whether that is saving someone from a burning building or whether it's just from saving yourself. It takes acknowledging that fear to be able to develop that courage to go, you know what, this is actually worth it. I'm actually going to make that happen. And yeah, so for me, the most long-term ways that I've been able to push past any of those downward spirals is to actually embrace them. And this time, that's literally this time is the best time to be able to do that, where we have so much darkness kind of surrounding us in the current economic climate, and with everything that's going on with the pandemic. So many of us are still in lockdowns, that type of thing. Now is the best time to look in the mirror, face the fears that you've been hiding from for such a long time, and going, you know what, I am sick of that. I'm going to get rid of that and bring on this new empowered me.
Yeah, that was so encouraging. And like you said, you know what? If you don't face it, you won't know like who you really are and what you're capable of. So that was beautifully said. And I really want to thank you for saying that everything takes work. Like, you really need to put in the work. Like, for example, sometimes it's actually hard work to be positive, people. Like, you need
Yeah.
to mentally and consciously be like, okay, I need to think better things. How do I solve problem? Like, everything takes work. But if you are someone who's lazy, then I guess you just need to admit that you're lazy and then overcome that laziness, I guess. And thank you for telling people that they need to treat the root cause, because like you said, like, they go into the pharmacist and they cure whatever is something they might have, and then something else will come up on other parts of your body. So yeah, I think treating the root cause is very important. But I want to ask, what would you say to those people who always eat antibiotics?
So it takes about 12 months for your gut to be fully replenished with its gut microbiome again. So if you're constantly in and out of taking antibiotics, your gut is not at a place where it can function properly. So that's going to be causing other issues as well. And if you're constantly going in and out of that state of constantly being sick, the reason why you're sick is because your gut's not functioning properly, because that's a very big component to your immune system. So if you're going on antibiotics because you get sick and then you come off of it and you get sick again, you're going on antibiotics again, you're just depleting your immune system. And not everything is the same. So like there's some illnesses that you kind of do want to get some medical care for. But when you have just your common everyday colds and stomach upsets and things like that, you actually want your body to learn how to adapt to it and teach your body how to defend against those pathogens. So that's the most empowering way for your body to be able to move past being constantly sick, is to actually just let it be sick. Not seriously sick, not in hospital sick, but going through those small illnesses so that your tolerance to disease can be built up. And that, yeah, it comes back to making sure that you are feeding your gut microbiome with fiber. So fiber is a big one to help if you think of your gut microbiome as like people in a house, fiber and good roughage, good diet is putting furniture inside that house so that they actually want to stick around. Because if you're just taking probiotics all the time, they're still going to move out because there's no furniture for them to sit on. So yeah, you want to be able to eat the right food to get them to stay in your gut.
Yes, that was a beautiful illustration. Thank you so much for that. Well, I feel like honestly we can talk for ages because, you know, you got stories, you got layers, and obviously you have amazing knowledge. My last question for you is, how do you think we can be there for each other right now? Actually, in general.
In general, yeah, reaching out to each other. And listening for those subtle cues. Some people, if they've had a traumatic upbringing, or if they're just not used to asking for help, they will have subtle ways that they'll ask for it. And being able to tap into yourself to understand your own subtle cues, to be able to acknowledge when someone else is doing the same, is very important. So reaching out to each other, if you haven't heard from someone for a while, even if it just feels like you have a distant friendship, just say hey anyway, because it is incredibly important to have good connection with people around us, whether that's a connection from afar or a close connection. And sometimes you never know which direction it's going to go in.
You say subtle cues. What would be like 3 subtle cues that people should be aware of?
So if it was something like someone's needing a gym buddy or something like that, so they don't like training by themselves, they feel scared or they feel afraid of going to the gym by themselves. So they might say to someone, oh yeah, I'm going to the gym on Tuesday morning. And other people just be like, oh yeah, cool. Yeah. So clearly they're trying to like, I would like to have someone at the gym with me. In regards to mindset, there is a lot of subtle things that people can say that it'll be in their languaging. So it'll be in if you ask someone how they're going and they're just like, oh yeah, getting there, they're probably going through something quite deep that they're not able to even say I'm okay. So and that happens a lot in Australian society, especially with guys as well, that they'll kind of brush off how they're feeling. Is because they're not able to connect with how they're feeling because they're really feeling disempowered within themselves. So to take it away from just the female side of it, men really do struggle with mindset and mental health as well. So if you feel like there's people around you that are quieter than normal, or they keep mentioning things that they haven't mentioned previously, like I was saying about the gym or something like that, then just touch base with them. Ask them if there's anything that they do need, because often it's hard for them to ask for that help themselves.
I think how to ask question is very important, actually. If you don't know how to ask people questions, I think by reversing the psychological side of it is quite effective. For example, like you said, like, you know, the gym thing, like, oh, I'm gonna go to the gym on Tuesday or whatever, instead of saying like, okay, cool, you can ask them, oh, would you like someone to go with you or something. So
yeah. Or like, oh cool, I was thinking of going on this day, would you like to come with me, or something like that. Yeah,
something like that.
Just opening up that dialogue. Yeah. And we did just have the Are You Okay Day a few days ago, and it's like Are You Okay Day is great as a reminder, but we should be doing that a little bit more frequently, that if we are noticing people around us that they might be going through a change in their life as well, so especially people who are starting to level up and starting to achieve their goals, they're going to need that support around them throughout the entire process. So not just when they start to lose 5 kilos, but when they start to lose a lot more fat, because their whole identity is shifting. And yeah, and they need people to support them, not people to say, oh yeah, but you always used to eat cake, why don't you eat cake today? They need people to help them be strong within themselves to make it a long-term commitment to their own self-worth.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you, Zoe, so much for your time and your knowledge. I really, really, really enjoy our chat. And for those who are listening and watching, especially women, if you would like to feel empowered, please contact Zoe.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Absolutely loved it.
Did you enjoy the interview? Have you been taking some notes down on how you can level up your life? Do you eat enough quality protein? Look, personally, I feel like there is nothing ever too expensive when it comes to your own health. I personally want a functional body, a healthy body, a positive and joyful mindset now and even in my 50s or 80s. It is never ever too late to turn your life around, and it's never ever too early to start either. So maybe today you have decided that you want to do something different. Well, Zoe's contact details are all in the description below. Honestly, you will never know until you give it a try. Here is just a quick reminder. Please do your research before you spend your hard-earned money on something that you are hoping that would change your life. That is why I sincerely hope that you have enjoyed all the people that I have brought on here, because these friends and guests are qualified professionals who have done their research for you, and they're offering amazing services that is trying to help the greater community. I am so excited for you to live your life differently, and please do share your thoughts with me. You can comment below or email me. Now don't forget to subscribe, click the thumbs up button if you have loved it, and share it with someone, because you never know what they're going through. And remember, you're amazing and you are not alone. I'll see you next time.